Congratulations on your brand new saltwater pool. This is video 1 of 3 educational modules to help you learn everything there is to need to know about your brand new investment in family fun and relaxation. Saltwater pools are very easy to maintain chemically once you understand how they work. The real key is testing regularly yourself and figuring out what percentage of your output your salt generator must be set at to create the right amount of chlorine in your pool. The first and most important thing to understand is that your saltwater pool is still a chlorine pool. You're just making chlorine from salt. We're splitting apart the molecules, taking the NaCl from salt and breaking it into Na and Cl. In the simplest terms, when your water flows through your salt cell, it's sapped with electricity to break apart the molecule. The chlorine goes into the pool to kill bacteria and clean the water, the salt collects in the cell, and when it's full of sodium, it goes right back into the pool and the whole process repeats. How much chlorine you need and how often is dependent on your pool's temperature, usage, and weather. The percentage that you adjust on your salt cell itself takes 2 to 3 days for any change you do in your mechanical system to reflect in your pool water. That's why testing is so important. The first and most important step is to grab your test strips. We recommend testing every 2 to 3 days, plus once a week for sure on the same day of the week so you can get a consistent idea of what your chemistry is like. Dip and swirl the test strip for about 3 seconds and then compare the colors to the chart on the bottle. The most important thing for you to look at is your chlorine level. If, for example, the chlorine reading is low, you would change your percentage to 100% on your salt cell and you would add Prestiva Premium Shock, which we'll talk about more in just a minute. You can ignore the bromine pad on your test strip since we're using chlorine. pH, alkalinity, and calcium hardness are other parameters of water balance, and the water lab can help you with those. Bring in a water sample to the lab whenever they look like they are not in the correct range on your test strip, and we'll get them into balance for you. For folks who want to balance themselves at home, you can always take a picture of a freshly dipped test strip, email it to us, and we'll email you a prescription. If your chlorine is ever too high, that means you should turn your out percentage down. The ideal level is 1 to 3 part per million at all times. The best way to establish a salt level is actually not by boosting your salt unit. That is going to increase it slowly over time and can take days. In that period of time, your water could go cloudy, the pool could get some algae, and it's technically unsafe as we want to keep a chlorine level between 1 to 3 part per million all the time. The best way is to use Prestiva Premium Shock, which is a saltwater specific product. When you are adding products to your saltwater pool, make sure they are designed for a salt pool. Prestiva Shock oxidizes wastes that are in the water and gives a boost to your chlorine levels. To add Prestiva Shock, all you have to do is follow the prescribed dose. It can be found on your printout or by following the label on the bottle. And to apply it, just walk around the pool and sprinkle evenly across the surface. Don't forget to check your chlorine level about an hour after adding the shock just to make sure it's come up to that ideal range of 1 to 3 part per million. The next thing we will talk about is monthly maintenance. Choose a specific day of the week that works for you, but do it consistently on that day, like the first Sunday of every month, for example. For your monthly maintenance, you will be adding 2 products, Prestiva Primer and Prestiva Shock. Primer's job is to prevent staining, scaling, and keep your salt cell lasting a long time. Prestiva Shock oxidizes wastes that are in the water and gives boosts to your chlorine levels. The Prestiva system, which is what you've gotten with your pool, really is the most effective saltwater pool care system with the least amount of synthetic chemicals, and it's super easy to use. Step 1 is Prestiva Primer, and it's the key to having the system function correctly. Every pool has a different dosage, so look at your monthly maintenance printout and find out how much primer your pool needs. Apply by sprinkling it slowly into your empty skimmer basket. Step 2, after you've added the monthly dose of primer, you can sprinkle your monthly dose of Prestiva Shock across the surface of the pool. And that's your monthly maintenance. Where's the salt, you say? Great question. That is the third thing to maintaining your pool. For your pool, you want to be making sure you are only using Prestiva Premium salt. All salt is not created the same. When your pool is freshly filled, there is no salt in it at all, so you're going to be putting in hundreds of kilograms of salt into your pool. You'll probably also be adding between 3 and 10 bags every spring when you freshly fill the pool. The only time your salt level will decrease is when you are actively pumping out water. For example, if we get too much rain or you need to remove some water, you're going to be diluting your salt. You will also dilute the salt at the end of the season when the water level gets lowered for winterization. Why it's important to be using only Prestiva Premium Salt? Prestiva Premium Salt is really the only 100% pure salt there actually is. When you look at other brands or types of salt, if, for example, they're 99% salt, that other 1% is extra organic material or trace metals that can cause some significant chemical challenges. To put it in perspective, let's use an example of 100 kilograms. Say you need 100 kilograms of salt to get your salt into an ideal level. If it is 99% pure salt from a big box store, sure, it's less expensive, but when you put in those 100 kilograms of salt, you're also going to be adding 1 kilogram of organic material, which is a significant amount when you think about it. Think about holding a 1 kilogram bag of flour or sugar, and now imagine putting that in the pool. Organic material can include algae, dirt, organic waste from birds, etc. Stuff you really don't want to swim in. It comes down to the manufacturing process. Prestiva salt is pumped directly from the ocean in Halifax into a facility where it's mechanically evaporated and kept clean. Most kinds of salt are just ocean water pumped into a pond, and then once the sun evaporates the water, the salt is left behind. If you have walked past any of our retention ponds in Winnipeg, you have seen how many geese there are. You probably wouldn't let that many geese in your pool. And what are the geese doing in that pond? And what kind of algae blooms are growing in that pond? When that salt is scraped up and packaged, all of that organic material is then going into your pool. If you choose to use salt other than Prestiva Premium Salt when you're doing your water tests, please let us know. We can do some extra analysis to try and chemically treat for those things that are in your water. Your maintenance routine will become weekly rather than monthly, and you may need to add extra products to get rid of those trace metals and other organic material that go in when other kinds of salt go in. That's why it's best to use Prestiva Premium Salt. You can check your printout for your prescribed dose or number of bags now that your pool is up and running. We always like to advise to add your salt slowly. For example, if your printout's calling for 18 bags, only add 2 or 3 bags a day. Brush behind it with your pool brush or put in your robotic cleaner and let that stir things up for you, and you can swim within 15 minutes. Always follow the product labels to know how long after adding product you should wait to swim. It's also important to have chlorine sticks or pucks on hand at home to use whenever your salt unit is not operating. For example, if you're adding your initial dosage of salt and your salt generator isn't going to be operating for a few days, we don't want to leave the pool with a chlorine level of 0 during that time. Have some sticks or pucks in your skimmer basket to chlorinate the pool until your salt unit is actively generating. Also, if your water is excessively cold or your equipment is ever down for some mechanical service, it's good to have chlorine on hand. And that's essentially it. Make sure your salt level is ideal by having water lab tests done on a monthly basis. Add primer to keep your water soft and preserve the life of your salt cell, and add shock to gas away wastes. A salt pool really is a simple pleasure. Now that you know the basics about the poolside chemistry, let's talk a little bit about your mechanical system. This is the salt cell that we mentioned earlier. It's a little piece of equipment, likely right at your pool pad by your pump, filter, and heater. Inside here is where all the magic happens. Inside this cell, there are 5 electrified metal blades, breaking apart those molecules of sodium chloride into chlorine and sodium. A couple things to look at on a regular basis on your particular salt unit. The first is your salt level. Every pool likes a different amount of salt, so just look at this little green light and make sure that's a solid green color. If it's flashing green, it means your salt is too high. A high salt level doesn't hurt anything, just don't add any salt until it stays a solid green. Next is just the power to the unit. You want it to be green, on. Next is flow. If it's ever red, that normally means that your water level is too low, your skimmer or pump baskets are dirty, or your filter needs to be cleaned. Green means water is flowing through and you're actually able to make chlorine. The most important thing is sanitizer output. When testing your water, if your chlorine is ever low, press the More button until your chlorine increases. If your chlorine is too high, press Less. Please remember that anytime you make a change to the sanitizer output, it will take 48 to 72 hours to actively show on your test strips. For example, if your chlorine is low and your normal output is 60, we would turn that to 100, leave it there for 3 days, and then test the water and make sure the chlorine level is good. If the chlorine level tests in range, good, we're going to keep it where it is. And if the chlorine is high, we would go down in 20% increments and then repeat that until you find your magical sweet spot. You will always be adjusting the sanitizer output. Indoor pools that have a consistent environment are the exception. For an outdoor pool, this is the most important thing to do on a regular basis to make sure that your chlorine production is ideal. Now stay tuned for video 2 on how to read your prescription and take care of your water balance, the pH, alkalinity, calcium hardness, and other things that are involved in the water chemistry to make sure that your salt pool lasts as long as possible and is as comfortable as possible. If you ever have any mechanical challenges, lights that don't look how they should, please reach out to our service department by phone, email service@aquatech.ca, or our online chat at www.findmyanswers.ca. Anything chemically that you might have questions about, please give us a call, send us an email at watertesting@aquatech.ca, or an online chat. We are always here to help you.